guys, friends, YouTube, what's going on? It's LJ back to share tonight an artist collection or another episode of Trip in the Collection Fantastic. Tonight I wanted to share with you my Iron Maiden collection. Iron Maiden is an amazing band, one of my favorites, and this is the goddamn doomed video. Let me tell you, this video is cursed, so you're putting yourself at huge risk by even watching this. This is a video I've tried to shoot like 4 times at this point, and something has just happened every time. So it's going to be a miracle if you even watch this and see it, and you might want to up your life insurance policies because this video is cursed. And how fitting, right? I mean, for Iron Maiden, you know, with Electric Matthew here, or I'm sorry, I mean Eddie, but you know, for those real true Iron Maiden fans will know that wasn't always Eddie. That was actually Electric Matthew way back when, in an artist named Derek Riggs' little sketchbook. And I guess this will be partly about Derek Riggs as well. I've always been fascinated by him. You know, Derek Riggs, you know, starting off with Electric Matthew, and there's all sorts of stories about where he got the idea, the concept for that, an image he had seen of American soldiers in Vietnam, but it wasn't until it was brought to the attention of the band, Iron Maiden, who didn't want to do the whole naked girl on the cover. Not that there's anything wrong with that. They wanted to do something completely different. So they went with Eddie, and the rest is history. But this is their first album from 1980, Iron Maiden. This is on the Capitol label. I know I've said before I don't really get into labels, but Maidens are just so cool. So I wanted to show you some of those as well. This is an early Maiden lineup. Of course, Paul Di'Anno is on vocals here, and I actually really do like Paul Di'Anno quite a lot. Maiden camps are always really divided there. But not my favorite Maiden album by a long shot. It's got a very punk, raw sound and edge to it, and I do like it, and there are some good tracks on here, but it's just not a favorite. I don't go back to this one too often. Every once in a while for songs like Transylvania and Remember Tomorrow, and Sanctuary. But an early image of Eddie, who we'll no longer call Electric Matthew, and Iron Maiden's first album from 1980. After that, and still with Paul Di'Anno at the helm, and with a much cooler cover, in my opinion, is Killers. Killers is one of, it vies for my top spot in Maiden's canon. This is just great. You have, like, reaching up here Eddie, and this is right around the same time that all the Margaret Thatcher drawings came out, where Eddie would, you know, kill Margaret Thatcher, the British Prime Minister at that point, and then kind of the backlash that was causing. But Killers is just amazing. Murders in the Rue Morgue, Twilight Zone, you know, some killer stuff here. You know, this is also the first that was produced by Martin Birch, who would be with Maiden, you know, all the way through. I think it was until after Fear of the Dark at that point. So a different producer, a different sound. What's interesting is at this point, you know, it's said that these songs were all leftovers from the earlier sessions, but it sounds so completely different. So that might be the hallmark of what a producer can do for an album, like, you know, Mutt Lange for AC/DC's Back in Black, or Def Leppard's Pyromania. You just totally change the sound, and again, I mentioned this is where the labels start to get really cool too. Iron Maiden, that label, and it's the same on that side. So yeah, I mean, if this is one you're not familiar with, and I think, you know, I'll leave the first one out. I definitely wouldn't say start there or get involved with Maiden there. It's the wrong one to start with. But from here forward, you know, if you're not familiar with Maiden, any one of these that, you know, is going to come up next is a great place to start, and a pretty consistent sound. Continuing on with Number of the Beast, the greatest metal album of all time, you'll hear a lot of people say, and I'm not going to agree. It's really good. This cover really freaked me out as a kid. You know, definitely knocked it off my Christmas list for as far as my parents were concerned many times. But you know, I have Eddie here controlling the devil, controlling Eddie. Man, this thing caused so much controversy. You know, Iron Maiden is a satanic band, and on, and you name it. And you know, as far as I understand, what was going through Steve Harris's head at the time was, and there's the label, guys. The other side's actually really cool. Was he had just watched the Omen, Damien the Omen 2, and that kind of gave him nightmares, and you know, that was the whole thought process for the album that started it. But you know, it was Ozzy and Maiden albums being burned, you know, in effigy, and Maiden are Satanists and they're satanic, and that never stopped for 10 seconds. Next up, 1983 came Peace of Mind. Eddie is now locked up, institutionalized. He's had a lobotomy, quite clearly. Another very cool cover, and I'm gonna say this is my favorite Iron Maiden album. You know, Where Eagles Dare, Revelations, Flight of Icarus, Die With Your Boots On. It's just an amazing album. Track for track, it's one I can put on and not say, I don't really like that song. This album kicks ass. Still Life is a song that actually has a great play on backwards masking or backwards messages in tracks, and you know, it actually starts out with a very obvious one, and you can play it backwards, and there's the label, guys, a little brain salad supper there. So again, very cool. But you know, it's the drummer Nico at that point, you know, with the backwards message, and you know, he burps at the end of it, and that's cool. And you know what, nowadays, like Audacity and stuff like that has made it so easy to just play tracks backwards. But I mean, not when we were kids. When I had this when I was in, you know, middle school, 5th and 6th grade, it was put it on and spin it backwards, and now any of us feel like you do that, you'll ruin my record, I'll kill you. But not then, it was cool. Moving on, 1984, Power Slave. What a cool cover. You know, full of hidden messages, another Derek Riggs hallmark, hiding things all over the place in this one. I can't even imagine, you know, where this came from in his mind to come up with this album cover. I am very guilty of trying to replicate this, you know, sitting in math class with my cassette, trying to draw it on the cover, and I'm no Derek Riggs. I was an illustration student, commercial illustration student, but just nowhere near Derek's caliber, and this is cool too. Kind of carrying on the Egyptian theme on the label. This is definitely a great album. Lots of great stuff here. Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, their longest track in history, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, and that's what's playing in the background from Live After Death. But this kicked off the World Slavery Tour, which was immense, huge, just killer. Eddie coming out on stage, bandages and everything, and again, highly recommended, absolutely, by all means, check it out. And the World Slavery Tour brought out Live After Death. This is amazing. I use this for my eye choice in the A to Z thread, and just what a cool gatefold release. I got this for I think Christmas when I was 10 or 11, and parents still hated it. Here's Eddie coming up for the ground, again guilty of trying again and again to draw that on math and English books, and again all sorts of stuff going on from Derek back here. We have Tombstones, Here Lies Derek Riggs, Metal Lives, you know, Freedom of Rock, Rest in Peace, you know, and on, and Here Lies Faust, love it. The Grim Reaper back here. And let's see if I can open this for you. It's a big gatefold, and you know, it's got some great pictures, you know, from the tour. There's your Iron Maiden order form here for t-shirts, and actually a leather tie with Eddie on it. Book, you know, again with concert photos and tour dates, and what did the band use on tour in terms of equipment. There's all sorts of stuff going on here. Again, this is what's playing in the background, and again, this is just fantastic. You know, Bruce Dickinson is in full swing in Maiden at this point, having taken over a number of the Bs for Paul Di'Anno, who left or was fired or, you know, whatever. But you know, so Bruce Dickinson's in full swing here, and I didn't mention that when I showed, there's the label, guys, the Number of the Beast album, because at this point it's more interesting, you know, because we're starting to see, you know, Bruce take on, and starting to cover some of Di'Anno's material, and it's always been intriguing for me to hear when, you know, new vocalists cover classic songs in their style, and I think Bruce did an amazing job on this. So again, 1985, Live After Death. Pricey when you can find it, but absolutely worth it. 1986, Somewhere in Time, a big turning point for Iron Maiden. The introduction of more of a synth sound, synth guitars and synth bass. You know, again, hidden images everywhere, all over the place on this. You know, from Ruskin Arms to, you know, Eddie, and you just name it. There's stuff everywhere on this. Maggie's Revenge, of course, Margaret Thatcher. Throw back to her. I don't want this video to run too long, but again, just a great label of Android Eddie. Definitely a fantastic and amazing album. A great place, you know, to start. Absolutely, it's just got that all-out guitar Maiden attack happening here. It's fantastic. I love this album. The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, Heaven Can Wait, Wasted Years, a huge Maiden hit. Next and last in my Maiden collection is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son from 1988. Another great Derek Riggs illustration here. And then Derek has just done some amazing stuff. This doesn't even scratch the surface. You know, between the posters and the singles and you name it, there's just so much Riggs artwork out there for Maiden, and all of it is amazing. Again, killer label depiction of Eddie on that side. And this is a full-out concept album of, I believe it's a boy with clairvoyant powers and so forth. And, you know, Queensryche's doing the same thing at that time. And, you know, it's all right. Like I said, it's definitely not my favorite Maiden album. I don't pull this one out too often, but it's good. It's all right. Definitely, again, some great artwork on the back with Eddie here coming out. And I guess I should have mentioned all of these in their songs and their materials has been covered and covered and covered and covered. There was a Dream Theater that actually went through and played Number of the Beast in its entirety in 2002 and released it. And it's actually pretty good. So that's it. That's my Iron Maiden collection. Clearly, metal holds a pretty special place in my heart. Stuff that has more of a melody that you can listen to. I can sing along with sometimes, I guess, but it's all just classic killer, new wave of British heavy metal, early 80s up until the late 80s. Fantastic stuff. Highly recommend any one of those. Check them out. Have a good time. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. And again, remember, this was a cursed video. Ciao.